Hello, Catherine Foley is my name, and I'm going to read to you from my book Beyond the Breakwater, and we're coming from An Rinn in Gunderford, Ring in County Waterford, and today's chapter is chapter 31, The Pope's Visit, so it's an appropriate one for Sunday maybe. We left while it was still dark and wintry, piling into a minibus up on the Helvig Road. We were still half asleep, us three sisters with fellow teenagers of the parish, all under the care of our local curate. Each of us had sandwiches and crisps and flasks of tea. My mother had made a banner using an old sheet and sewn a wide strip of yellow felt material as a border around its edge, so we had the papal colours. She had the words An Rinn agus an Shanafobal in Irish letters, emblazoned in yellow in the centre. We were all going to see Pope John Paul II say Mass in Galway. In our excitement, we had eaten our sandwiches by the time we drove into Clonmel. When the priest took his packed sandwiches out around Limerick, we noted the looking contents of his lunchbox, the leg of a chicken, the ham sandwiches, and 2 little queen cakes. We watched ravenously as he ate every mouthful, hoping he might offer us some, but of course he felt no such inclination. We were bone tired by the time we got to Ballybrit, and it was drizzling and damp. Once out of the minibus, we joined the hundreds of thousands and walked through mucky fields guided by stewards until we were ushered into a corral. We were herded in with the Waterford and Lismore dioceses to either lean against the rough wooden fencing that had been put in place or sit on the ground. The sky was grey, laden with rain, but the helicopters that flew over again and the warm-up acts kept us entertained. Bishop Eamon Casey and Father Michael Cleary kept the ball rolling, belting out chorus after chorus of By the Rivers of Babylon and Totus Tuus, until the music began to swell and the voices of some 280,000 were finally unleashed. Some of us slept until the main event, leaning on the wooden fencing or lying on our raincoats in between the mucky shoes and boots that trampled around us. Each delegation must have been clearly visible that day, stretching out across the huge field with a huge panoply of waving flags and white faces looking up to see the Pope. Hours seemed to slip by until we saw the man himself emerge onto the stage. He blessed us and waved through the mist. His vestments were blown all around him, but his charisma kept us mesmerised. In hindsight, I recall his all-embracing proclamation of "Young people of Ireland, I love you." He delivered it in that characteristically strong Polish accent, and I realised that it must have come straight from his heart, bursting from him spontaneously in response to our youth, our innocence, and our warm welcome. When he said, "Mola go Dio le dia," praise be to God forever, us Gael Gory from Ring felt he was talking directly to us, and we were completely smitten. We cheered him on and laughed at the lovely guttural effort he had made, roaring our approval with everyone else, applauding him when he smiled at the sea of drenched faces. There he was, a real man on a dais, and he had travelled to be with us. For months and even years afterwards, those 2 phrases, his Polish intonation intact, were often invoked, either at the top of the steps at home into our sitting room or at the table in our kitchen. "Mola go Dio le dia," or young people of Ireland, I love you. Although we spoke them in jest at such times, they were also uttered in fond remembrance of Pope John Paul's style and personality. The cold is uppermost in my mind as I think back to that outdoor mass in Galway, when there were 77 robed figures concelebrating together at the distant altar. We followed their marionette-like movements. The mass seemed to happen like a pantomime at times. Prayers and blessings over the bread and wine were blown away on the wind, while we shivered and watched, and the mute show continued, only punctuated by a couple of times when the wind carried back the odd line or two. And on that day in Galway we waved our banner, swaying to the strains of the hymns, and the creeping cynicism that had been settling into my brain and my person was washed away for a time at least. It was the embarrassing but exquisitely irresistible urge to weep that I remember too. I allowed tears to stream down my cheeks along with the thousands of others who were there when we sang Totus Tuus and E Christ an Shiel. And as happens after all the best outings of one's youth, when we trudged back to the minibus, we joined a long queue of buses and headed for home, tired but sated. So that's all for today. Thanks for listening. Bye now. Thank you.